All right, 2.6, metric units. What we're going to cover today, the little chart we drew that I put on your notes, we'll use it probably more tomorrow than say today, but it will help us with what we've got to do today. Really the chart we use when we're talking about metric conversions, which I think we either cover tomorrow or Thursday, I'm not sure which. But it'll help us in the sense of it lets us know all the different types of metric measurements, okay? The metric unit of measurement, okay, the metric system is a decimal system unlike the U.S. system, okay? The U.S. system is called the standard unit of measurement, okay? The metric system is used in the U.S., but not as a general rule for normal people, okay? Where they use the metric system in the U.S. is in the field of science, okay? The science field is probably the most common place that you're going to find metric units, okay? That's where they're going to deal with grams. They're going to deal with milliliters, liters and grams, basically. They don't really, science does not use meters. Occasionally you'll see things in kilometers in science as far as distances go. But for the most part, in the U.S., we use our system of measurement, inches, feet, yards, all of that. The difference between the two systems, okay, the metric system is based on a base unit of 10. In other words, everything is 10, 100, thousandths. That's how you convert, okay? Where the U.S. system, we have all different things, okay? There's 5,280 feet in a mile, okay? There's however many yards, I think it's 1,920 or something like that, yards in a mile, okay? Where the metric system, a mile for them is like a kilometer, okay? And there's 1,000 meters in a kilometer, okay? And so they have everything based, it doesn't change. Where there's 12 inches in a foot, 36 inches in a yard, okay? Well, their inches is like between centimeters and decimeters, okay? But there's like 10 of these, 100 of these, 1,000 of these, okay? So it all goes on base powers of 10, okay? And so that's where the two differences really are that you have. Now, the metric system is mainly used in Europe, okay? Europe, Asia, countries overseas use mainly the metric system. They don't use the standard unit of measurement that we use, okay? So if you go over there, you're going to have to know, what a kilometer is, how much is a meter, all that type of stuff, okay? Now, that's why you see in a lot of cars have different units of measurement. Like on most cars that use digital readout, you can go in and click on it whether you want metric or standard, okay? Because they'll eventually, those cars may end up overseas where they use the metric unit of measurement. And so if the speed limit's 80 kilometers per hour and you're sitting in a car that only has miles per hour, then you have to start doing a conversion. Then you have to start doing a conversion for it, and you end up not being able to do that. Okay, so the metric unit is used mainly in Europe, Asia, across overseas. When I lived in Africa, they used it in Africa. Okay, they used the English system, what most people would call the English system, which is the metric system. Okay, and most places that they say, most common where it came from is England. Okay, the British. The British always got to mess up everything. They can't just do it our way. They got to do it their own way. That's just a joke. It's just a joke. Okay, I don't want it all over YouTube that I don't like the British. All right, but that's where they use it. Okay, why do we have to know it? Well, back in the days when I was in school, okay, they said eventually the U.S. is going to go to the metric system. Okay, this was in junior high and high school back in the 80s when I was in school. They were saying, by the year 2000, the U.S. will be on the metric system. You need to know it, blah, 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 blah. They're wrong. Okay, we're too stubborn. We're not going to go to the metric system. Okay, but you do need to understand it to be able to understand when you get into science, biology, for example, chemistry, physics. Okay, those areas of study that you'll have to do in high school and college. Okay, you need to understand the metric system and what it is, because that's what you will use there. Nick?
You're recording, so that's going to be on YouTube already.
Right, that's why I made that statement that I do like British people. I don't want that going out there, okay. All right, so, we'll get out there, it'll be viral tomorrow. There'll be 1 million people who listen to this lecture just because I said that, Yeah. All right, so metric system, 3 base units. The 3 base units, just like we have in our system. In our system, we have what we would say feet would be one, pounds would be another, fluid ounces would be another. That would be sort of our unit of measurement, okay? Where we have in distance, to figure a distance, we have inches, we have feet, we have yards, we have miles, okay? So we basically have 4 different things that you can record distance in, okay? And they're different names. In the metric system, there's only one name, and it's meters, okay? How they make smaller and larger units of measurement for distance is they add the prefix decicentimilla or deca, hecto, kilo, okay? That's how they make something larger. So where our system might have here meters, might have feet, okay? Right here in the base unit, we might have feet, okay? And this would be like inches, fraction inches, okay? Where this over here would be yards, fractional yards, miles, okay? Well, what they have is this. They have, for meters, they have decameters, hectometers, and kilometers. Okay, that's how the unit gets larger. The further it goes this way, the larger the unit gets. Further it goes this way, the smaller the unit gets. Okay? On this side, we have meters. That's abbreviation for meters. Here we have small d, decimeters, centimeter, millimeter. Okay? And that's how they move from where we would go inches, feet, yards, miles. They go millimeter, centimeter, decimeter, meter, decameter, hectometer, kilometer. Okay? And that's how they do their different types of measurement. Now, for our purposes, mainly the main ones they use for meters is kilometers, meters, and then these 3. That one not very much, but occasionally you will see it. Okay? Mainly centimeters, millimeters, meters, and kilometers are the most common ones used in the U.S. Okay? They may use them over in Europe and Asia and places like that. They may use all the rest of those more often. But for our purposes, kilometers are like miles. Okay? Meters are like yards. Millimeters, if you look at a ruler, okay, if you look at a ruler, the very smallest line on the meter part of the ruler would be millimeters. And then the larger ones, like 1, 10, 20, that would be your centimeters. Okay, decimeters is not on the ruler. Okay, and so that's how they come up with their smaller and larger units of measurement for meters. Meters is for distance. Okay, it's to measure length or distance. All right, the second one they have is liters. Okay, liters is volume. Okay, I can look at this right here, and it says 20 fluid ounces, okay, and 591 milliliters. Okay, milliliters is back here. Okay, that's a small m. It doesn't look like a small m, but it is a small m. Okay, small m, capital L, milliliters. Okay, now when you get to this side, see all these are small letters. When you get to this side, all these are capital letters. Okay, and the M, most of the time the M is capital. Okay, so we have 591 milliliters. And that's the same thing for us as fluid ounces. Well, for us, we have all sorts of measurement for liquid. We have pint. We have cups. We have fluid ounces. We have gallons. Okay? Really, most of the time, that's where we stop, is gallons. Okay? But most of your drinks, most of your liquid drinks will have a metric unit on it. Like, for example, back when the 2-liter plastic bottle of Coke came out. Okay, wow, we get a 2-liter bottle. We didn't even know what that was. Most people are just like, 2 liters, wow, that's great. And it was like, it's like a gallon. And everybody's like, hey, let's go buy a 2-liter bottle and get a 2-liter. Everything was liter. Well, now you don't really hear that much. Okay, you just go get a plastic bottle of Coke. But it was the first time that Coke was ever done in a plastic bottle. A big plastic bottle. When you wanted a big one, okay, it was a glass, usually a glass thing, but they really didn't make back then. They didn't make the big, 2-gallon or the 2-liter bottles of Coke. And the plastic, they couldn't ever figure out how to make the plastic bottle stand up straight because the bottom of it they couldn't make flat for some reason. Don't know why. Okay, I know this is a true story though, because if you've ever looked at a 2-liter bottle, I don't know if they have them on as much now, but they have like a little black base on the bottom of it. It's a different color and it's like a harder base and it makes it flat so it can sit on the counter. Well, a good friend of our family, his company first came up with that. When they came up with a 2-liter bottle, they couldn't figure out how to make it be more sturdy where it'd stand up, like they could stand it up in the grocery shelves. When they first made it, it just had like 4 little points on the bottom of it, and it sat on that. And they were like, well, we can't have it that because it falls over on the counters. People don't want them on their grocery store shelves because they fall off, they make a mess, all that. So a good friend of our family, Bob McKinnon, he owned a company called DFW Plastics. And he ended up coming up with an invention, the piece that fed on the bottom of those 2-liter bottles. He ended up making, tons of money because it was a great idea. And I'm like, and he even said it. He was talking to me one day about it at church, and he's like, how simple was it? It was very simple. I can't believe nobody else came up with it before we did. And they came up with it, and so that's how the 2-liter bottle became into big populars because it had that black base on it, where it would sit on your shelf at home or sit on the grocery shelves, sit on the counter, and it wouldn't fall over. Okay, it was sturdy. It was. I don't know. Like I said, it was a pretty simple design, and it wasn't like it was rocket science or something. Not like they built a car, built an engine with a car. So that's what we talk about when we talk about liters. Okay, that measures volume, liquid. Okay, same thing that the meters have, liters have. Okay, you have kiloliters, you have hectoliters, decaliters, then liters, then deciliters, then centiliters, and milliliters. Okay? Now, just like in meters, not all those are used. They're not common. Okay? They can use them, but they're not common. Most of the ones that you see today are going to be milliliters and liters and kiloliters. Okay? Kiloliters is what you would measure, like if you're going to go buy, where we would say, hey, I just put 24 gallons of gas in my truck. They would say kiloliters. They put like 18 kiloliters in their vehicle. They put 18 kiloliters of petrol. That's what they call gas, is petrol. Just like in England and Europe, they spell tire, like on a car, T-Y-R-E. Don't know why, but they do. I used to get counted off. I went to a school that was an international school when I was in Africa, and a lot of times I get counted off for those type of things. Because I always learned to spell it T-I-R-E. Never could understand that. I got so hacked at my teacher because they counted it wrong because I spelt it. And I was in an American school. It wasn't like it was, but we had to do it by the British standards. That's why I had to take French in 6th grade. Wasn't very good at French. I wasn't very good speaking. I had a hard enough time speaking, regular English properly, much less some other country's language. Plus I had this real old guy, his French teacher. He was, well, if he wasn't 80, he had to be 80 years old, and He had this long white hair, and he rarely washed it. It was sort of greasy, but he'd come in for something, and I don't know if he did it on purpose or what, but he'd come in some days and his pants would be on backwards. And literally, his pants were on backwards. The belt buckle was here, but everything else was back here. His two pockets were in front, and I kept telling my parents this, and they were like, "Oh, you're just making an excuse why you don't do good in class." I'm like, "No, seriously, Mom, you got to come meet this guy. Dad, you got to come meet this guy." And sure enough, they met him, and they were like, "Okay, just do the best that you can, and we'll get you into the international school next year." And so his name was Dr. McQueen. He'd always come in with peanuts, and I was only in 6th grade, and so he'd come in and he'd just speak the whole class within French. So if I'm sitting there going, I don't have a clue what you're saying. Of course, the other students in my class, they'd had French for 2 or 3 years at that point. I don't know why, because French was not even one of the native languages of that country that we were in. But they'd had it for 2 or 3 years, and I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm going to write this down. I don't have it. And I'd look over at a friend of mine that was from America, and he's like, he means this. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. And I'd write it down. And it was a pretty tough class for 6th grade. It was conversational French in 6th grade. So you can imagine what that was like. All right, now, volume, liquid, okay. The last one, and this is one you see quite often, okay, is grams, okay, grams. Grams measure weight, and grams is big G, okay. Actually, I think most of the abbreviations you'll see will have a small g. But grams are used to measure weight, okay, where we would use ounces and pounds and tons, okay. They're going to use grams, okay, and they do have one called metric tons that measure large amount of weight, but we don't really talk about that. Grams are like, for example, if you read a bottle of Advil, it'll say 200 milligrams. Okay, well, what that is that's how much of the pill you have. You have 200 milligrams. Okay, and so grams are used to measure weight. Now, what I want to do is you have the same things here. Most of the ones you have here are milligrams and kilograms. Okay, those are the ones that you see the most, milligrams, grams, and kilograms. Centigrams, decigrams, those, you don't really see those as an American in the U.S. Like I said, haven't been overseas in a long, long time. So I don't know overseas if they use the other abbreviations more, but I know in the U.S. the ones that you're going to see the most are milligrams, grams, and kilograms. Okay, and then for liters, you're going to see kiloliters, liters, and milliliters most of the time. Okay, now, oops, I didn't erase that or something. Nope, that's centiliters. My L got erased or something. All right, now, let's look at our books at page 80. Okay, let's look at page 80. We're going to go over some of these different measurements so you can get an idea. They've given you some pictures here of different ideas of what the measurement, how much the measurement is. Okay, let's look at the first the first grouping there. The first grouping they use is for length, for meters. Okay, the first thing they show you is a picture of a dime. Okay, the width of a dime is about 1 millimeter. Okay, so I think I have a dime in here. I do. So that width is a millimeter. So obviously, in the terms of U.S. measurements, we don't really have a measurement for that. Now, we would say probably, that's 1/32 of an inch. Okay, 1/32 of an inch. That's how we would classify it if we were doing the width. Okay, so a lot of times you will see these measurements in our system of measurement. Okay, because if you went to the mint, the mint that's out there on 287, there's an actual U.S. mint. where the U.S. Treasury prints money. Okay, they make money. Most of you know James Shields, Courtney Shields, Haley Shields. Their dad works at the Mint, the U.S. Mint out there. He works out there at the plant where they actually make U.S. currency. Okay, so they probably use metric measurements out there to measure things like this, the width of it. Okay, the width of a dollar bill, the length of a dollar bill. Okay, they may, and I know they do for the thickness of something. I'm not sure if they do on the length, but that's a millimeter. Okay, that's a millimeter. Now, centimeter is basically the width of a paper clip, a large paper clip. Let me get a large paper clip. That's not really a large one. This would be a large one. So this 1 centimeter is about the width of this, not the length, but the width. Okay, so that's really not like our inches either. Okay, it's sort of it takes several of those to make an inch. It looks like about 1/4 of an inch to us. Okay, so it'd take 4 of these in a row would be about an inch, and I think they do that next down there at the bottom. They sort of about 5 large paper clips fit next to a bandage, so it's about 5 centimeters long. So it's about it's probably 4 of these is about an inch. Okay, so that's a centimeter. Now obviously, okay, the next one they give us is a chair. The height of a chair is about 1 meter. Okay, well a meter is very close to 3 feet. For us. Okay, a meter is very close to 3 feet. It's almost like a yard. It's very close. Okay, now let's move to the next one, grams. It's on the next page. On the next page they say 1 milligram is a grain of sugar. 1 little grain of sugar. Okay, not that pile of sugar that they have there, but 1 little grain of sugar is what 1 milligram is. So when they say that a Tylenol or an Advil tablet is 200 milligrams, well, you think of 200 grains of sugar all smashed together, and that's about what the size of that pill is. So what they're saying is they have 200 milligrams of ibuprofen. Okay, and they basically take the powder that's ibuprofen and smush it into a pill, and it's got 200 milligrams. So obviously the higher that is, the more of a pill you have. So 800 milligrams, like when you go to the doctor and you have a backache or you got back issues, they'll prescribe you ibuprofen, but it'll be like 800 milligrams. Okay, and it comes out and it looks like a pill you'd feed a horse. They call them horse pills. They're real big. If they're real big, they call them horse pills because they're real big. Because it's a bigger pill. Then what it means is instead of having 200 milligrams, it's like taking 4 of your regular Advil at one time. Okay, which most people don't do. Okay, at least most sane people don't do. Okay, that would not be good to take 4 Advil at one time. A 1 gram, a small paper clip. I had one of those just a second ago. This small paper clip weighs about 1 gram. Okay, so you can imagine what you weigh. You probably weigh quite a bit more. If they were measuring your weight, they would say kilograms. Okay, they would measure it in kilograms because the other one is a textbook. Your textbook is about 1 kilogram, is what it weighs. Okay, so maybe that's 1 to 2 pounds. Okay, 1 to 2 pounds. So if that's 1 to 2 pounds, let's say it's 2 pounds, and let's say somebody weighs 100 pounds, then they're going to be about 50 kilograms. Okay, and so that's how they do weight. Now, in our weight room down there in the athletic area in the gym, all the weights in there are done in pounds, but they also have metric weights that are done in kilograms. Okay, like a 45-pound weight that we use in the weight room would normally be a 44 kilogram weight if it's in a metric system. Okay, so it's pretty close. Okay, it's pretty close. You can go online and get the actual conversion of if I weigh 120 pounds, what would that be in kilograms? We'll do that maybe on another day. All right, the last one is milliliters. Turn to page 82. Milliliters. Okay, a milliliter. All right, a milliliter is like 1 drop out of an eyedropper. Okay, if you take 1 drop Drop it out of an eyedropper, that would be like a milligram. So if you've ever used the Visine or the eye stuff, for those of you that wear contacts, when you take one drop out of that little drop thing, you don't just squeeze it, you don't do that. You just usually just take a drop and drop it in there, and okay, so the one drop would be about a milliliter. Okay, now the next one though is your liter bottle. This right here, basically two of these put together, a little less than two of these would be a liter. Okay, because this is 591 milliliter. Oh no, my bad. I thought there was this. That's my bad. So it'd be, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, about two of these put together would be about a liter. Okay, two of those Gatorade bottles would be about a liter. Well, that's 40 ounces for us, 40 fluid ounces for us. There's in a gallon, there's 128 ounces, or 128 fluid ounces. So in half a gallon, there's 64. So it'd be a little less than half of a gallon is what a liter is. Okay. The other one, though, it's sort of amazing that, and here's why. Look at 1 kiloliter. 1 kiloliter is 8 large trash cans. Okay, and here's why. To go from liters to kiloliters is 1,000. So it would take 1,000 of those 1 liter bottles. Okay, the liquid in one of those 1 liter bottles, it'd take 1,000 of those to get a kiloliter. Okay, so that's why it's about 8 trash cans. Okay, because if you take 1,000 of those 1 liter bottles and just start dumping them out, it's probably going to take you about 8 trash cans to have enough to have all the water or whatever you're dumping out. Obviously, that'd be a total waste. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do that, but but that's what it is. It seems like on all the rest of them, for example, for me to go from grams to kilograms, it doesn't seem like that big of a jump, but it is. It's still 1,000. There's 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. Okay, so that means there's, what is it? Let me look at my sheet here. There's 1 million milligrams in a kilogram. Okay, there's 1 million. So if you think of this, if we have a kilogram, let me translate that real quick here. That would be 1 million, half, 500,000. There would be 50,000. There'd be 50,000 Advil tablets in 1 kilogram. So you get a bottle of Advil, it's got 500 tablets in it. Okay, there'd be 50,000 of those in 1 kilogram. Okay, so there's a huge jump from the smallest unit of measurement to the other one, just like there's a huge jump for us. In a mile, there's 5,280 feet. Well, you can imagine if we multiply that by 12, that would be how many inches are in a foot, or in a mile. Excuse me, how many inches are in a mile? I keep saying a foot. 12 inches in a foot, 5,280 in a mile. Okay, so there would be a huge jump for us to go from inches up to mile. Okay, so there's a huge jump between the two. We'll talk more about actually converting them tomorrow or Thursday, whichever it is. The day's lesson's real simple. Come back up. There we go. Look at page 83. All right. Copy and complete. Milligrams, grams, kilograms are metric units of weight, but it is also called mass. Okay? We usually don't call it weight even in the American system of measurement. I use weight because that way you understand it. Okay? But it's really called mass, M-A-S-S. So that's the answer to number 1, is mass. That's what goes in the blank. What they basically want you to do is they want you to come up with the unit of measurement you would use for each of these things, these objects. For example, a tennis racket is 1.2 long. Blank long. Okay, well, let's think of this. We said a kilometer is like a mile. So the tennis racket going to be 1.2 kilometers long? No, that would be a very hard tennis racket to swing if it was almost a mile long. Okay, that would be you wouldn't have any place to carry it. Okay, you can imagine driving down the freeway with a tennis racket that's a mile long. Whoops, hey, watch out a mile ahead, but I'm going to hit you with my tennis racket. Okay, obviously that would not be the case. What would it be? So we're thinking of length. What do you think, Celine? Huh? No, we're thinking length. So it's got to be like meters, centimeters, kilometers, millimeters. Okay, 1.2. What do you think, Emma? Meters. Yeah, it's meters. Because centimeters is less than an inch. 1 centimeter is less than an inch. So if I have 1.2 centimeters for a racket, I got a tennis racket this big. Okay, that'd be hard to hit a tennis ball with something this big. All right. So let's look at the next one. Number 3 says a piece of paper is 0.1 blank thick. Remember, distance is meters. So if I look at a piece of paper, okay, if I have a piece of paper like this right here, is that going to be meters thick, 0.1 meters thick? No. What do you think, Zach? Millimeters. Millimeters. Yeah, millimeters. It's 0.1 millimeters thick. Okay, so that's what goes there. The mass of a TV, there's the key term. Mass means weight. The mass of a TV is 20 kilograms. Because remember, a gram is what? Is mass, but it's very small. Okay? Its kilogram is more like our pounds. Kilograms for the metric unit is more like pounds. The TV is going to weigh about 20 pounds for us. Okay? Let's look at the next one. The mass of a golf ball is the weight of a golf ball. Okay, we said that 1 milligram is a grain of sugar. So obviously we're not going to measure it that way. Okay, it's not going to be 46 grains of sugar. Okay, what do you think, Zach? No, because 1 milligram is a grain of sugar. Okay, Cameron?
1 gram?
When it's grams, yeah. It's 46 grams would be how you would measure it. So it'd be grams, okay? Grams is a little obviously smaller than, because a golf ball is not going to weigh like 2 pounds, okay? We said that 1 gram was the weight of a paper clip. So 46 paper clips are going to be like a golf ball. It's got to be somewhat light or you can't hit it very far, obviously. All right, let's move down to number 12. So you understand what we're doing in those. Number 12 says find the mass of the object. Okay? Find the mass of the object. Okay, look at that object, look at that scale, and what do you think the mass of that object is? It's obviously going to be in decimal form, okay, because it doesn't weigh 1 complete. In other words, it does not weigh 1 kilogram. Okay, so let's see, Nick, what do you think? How many marks is it from 0? 5. Is it 5 or is it 6? Okay, it's 6. It's 6 marks from 0, so it would be 0.6. Okay? 0.6 would be what we would have. Okay, 0.6. All right, let's look at down there at number 14. Number 14 says shows you a measuring cup with liquid in it, and it's below 100 milliliters. How much is it? It's below 100, and it's at one of the marks. How many marks? What do you think, Josh? 75. That's right, 75 milliliters. Okay? Because it's at the mark right below 100. Well, there's 4 marks in each one, so that means it's divided into 25 milliliters for each mark. Okay, and it's at the one right below 100, so that would have to be 25 off of 100, which would be 75. Okay? All right, your homework. Your homework is 2.6, 1 through 33. You only have to put the answers. Okay? You only have to put the answers. You may go. I'll have to get them when I get down there.